Are Harry and Meghan and the rest of whatever staff they have left, are they all on a sinking ship? Hello everyone, welcome back to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we're going to be talking about the resignation of the woman who was head of Archewell for about 18 months. So she lasted just about 6 months longer than the woman who originally had the role. And now apparently Harry and Meghan, wouldn't you know it, they're going out on their own. And I find that exceptionally both fascinating and really a huge sign that the brand Sussex, the brand Archewell, really, it's going down in flames. It's very much a sinking ship, much like the Titanic. And everybody who's anyone is trying to jump ship as quickly as humanly possible to avoid what everybody knows is the fallout from not only their reality TV show, but the memoir that's coming, especially if they are eventually stripped of their titles. What will Harry and Meghan be without those stinking titles? I don't think much. And I think everybody else knows it too. So they're trying to get out as quickly as humanly possible. But of course, they're all remaining friends. So we're going to break this down a bit today. And I'm going to tell you, in addition to the recent resignation of their COO, 4 other reasons why Harry and Meghan's brand, I feel like really truly is on a trajectory downward, much like the Titanic. It's just going to keep going under and under and under the water. And how everybody, I think, around them in their inner circle, the people who work for them, no, this was a bum deal, and they're trying to get out as quickly as humanly possible because based on what's happening within the next month or so, there's absolutely no reason why Harry and Meghan would lose staff members. You need more people when it comes to having 2 huge things up on your plate. But that they're losing people is a huge, huge warning sign, I think, to not only the general public, but any business who wants to work with Harry and Meghan. Watch out, because you don't want to get trapped on there with them. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany and I provide compelling royal commentary on the latest news. I'm actually still here in Boston. I'm going to be leaving tomorrow, and it has been a super fun trip watching and catching up with Prince William and Princess Catherine. And I will hopefully do a video breaking down what I saw and some of the things that I observed while I was here in Boston. So if you guys want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that will be great. I also plan on reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit of history as well. If you love royal fashion, though, I do have royal fashion news, so if you want to head over there and you can check out some of those videos as well. It's a bit of a newer channel, and I will be doing a breakdown of all of Catherine's looks while she was here in Boston. So Harry and Meghan. So their reality TV show may be coming out next week, maybe coming out the 25th. I've heard various reports. Some people say it will be dumped all at once or in a couple of different increments. So that means the last episodes maybe will arrive on Christmas Day. So there's a couple of possibilities here. But obviously there's going to be a lot of promotion involved, a lot of controversy, publicity, and everything else. And so why is Harry and Meghan's, their head of Archewell, basically all of a sudden jumping ship perhaps less than a week before their documentary drops? Or I should say, sorry, reality TV show. I always call it a reality TV show because this idea that it needs to be a documentary because they are so historic, they need historians to tell their story, is a little ridiculous. But anyways, it was announced late last night that she was leaving, and here's what the press announcement said. Ms. Dayani has been an integral part of Archewell, and we are grateful for her passion, commitment, and leadership. Ms. Dayani was brought on during their parental leave to move the company and its projects forward. She has continued to shape its vision and future successfully. Her transition was mutually planned, with intent for the Duke and Duchess to now take full lead of their company. There will be no replacement for this position, and Ms. Dayani is fully supportive of the Duke and Duchess in their new leadership roles, and they remain friends. Okay, number 1, you generally shouldn't be friends with your superiors in a work environment. That generally ends up being not a super healthy dynamic. And the reason for that is because there just needs to be a separation. That way the person supervising you can give you the correct feedback and they're not hampered by a friendship. Not to mention, it's a little bit weird that Harry and Meghan apparently went on a 6-month paternal leave. And I'm supportive of paternal leave and parental leave. That's not what I'm saying. But I just find it weird. It's like, well, you have nothing else. You don't have to go into an office every day. You have staff members to help you. So I feel like there's no real reason why you couldn't work and have your child at the same time, because you get to work from home. You get to make your own schedule. You don't have the trappings and the restrictions of somebody who, for example, does not have those opportunities. Some women have to go back a week or two after work because there's literally nobody to take their place, and they maybe work in a restaurant or something like that, and so they lose out on income. Now that's, again, parental leave is a totally different argument. What I'm saying is that Harry and Meghan don't have those issues restricting them. So they really could have worked maybe even a week or two after Lilibet was born, because they maybe have a night nurse, they maybe have a nanny. So she could take them while they do some work things, or that the nanny can help pick up while Meghan works or something while the baby is napping. So again, Harry and Meghan have somebody to do all the little itty bitty things around them while they can focus on the big things. That's the advantage of somebody who has a lot of wealth, is that you can do multiple things at one time. So I always thought them taking perhaps several months of maternity leave or paternity leave while they were trying to build their business was just a gigantic mistake. The woman who was CEO of Yahoo went to work 9 days after giving birth. And again, she had this great flexibility because she was the CEO. And Harry and Meghan were the same way. So I find this, again, resignation absolutely insightful into where Harry and Meghan are. And this is what this woman was in charge of. So she oversaw operations for the couple's Archewell Foundation, as well as the media businesses Archewell Audio and Archewell Productions. She told Fortune last year, "I am so inspired by the vision and the unwavering dedication of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to create a more united, truthful, safe, and equitable world. I am thrilled to build upon their shared mission to drive systemic cultural change." As I was researching through this, I was looking at a couple different things. So I didn't catch that they're looking to enact cultural change. Generally, two people living in a mansion doing nothing, generally they don't enact cultural change. What cultural change are they driving towards? I mean, I'm genuinely curious. What do you think you're going to change about the culture? That's a little bit of hubris there. But that has always been Harry and Meghan's Achilles heel, is that they think they really truly are this dynamic, bombastic, earth-shattering couple who will change the foundations of humanity. I feel like that's the weight they put on their relationship. And honestly, it's just not there, guys. I'm so sorry to burst your bubble, which I feel like I really am, but it just ain't there. You guys are just not going to change the very fabric of humanity. And so I feel like Harry and Meghan, that they put this enormous pressure on themselves, and I'm sure their staff members too. It's difficult, it's challenging. But again, it's the timing here that I want to harp on for my first point. She's leaving perhaps less than a week before their reality TV show drops, and about a month before Harry's memoir drops. Now, I don't care how good a business person you are. You want the most hands on deck for a big announcement or a big production like this. You want as many people as humanly possible to manage potential fallouts, potential issues, communications, various things that all need to happen, all need to fall in order, because they have this huge thing coming up. And that she's not there, that they won't have this extra hand, I feel like is a huge gamble on the part of Harry and Meghan. A massive, massive gamble given what they're looking at in terms of this reality TV show, which already is not looking too hot. And I could see two ways this is going, or why she's leaving. Number one, she's just resigned because it was always going to be a temporary position. But based on what I read, I never read that it was just a temporary position. We knew she was coming on as they went on paternal leave, but it was never said explicitly, well, this is only a temporary position and then she's going to be moving on. And then obviously as well, you have Harry and Meghan, their first person who was their chief of staff and their person running Archewell. she left after a year. So this is a woman who used to work for Melinda Gates, and she only lasted a year, and this woman now has only lasted 18 months. And it goes along with what we know has happened with Harry and Meghan and their team, is that there's constant turnover of staff members, which tells basically the whole world that there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. There's something bad going on behind the scenes, because generally you shouldn't have this high level of turnover. So Miss Dayani, she worked for Rachel Zoe for 5 years. She was the vice president of her operations. And I'm sure that was a pretty stressful job. Rachel Zoe, she's a pretty famous stylist. She has high expectations. So I'm sure that was a stressful job, and that was 5 years. And then Melinda Gates, the woman who worked for Melinda Gates, Catherine St. Laurent, she worked for Melinda for 7 years, and Melinda was one of the wealthiest women in the whole world. So you just look at all this and you just wonder, why are you leaving? Again, this could be something that was always planned. The other possibility is that, perhaps even she was fired. It was like they were getting to the point where they're like, hey, we want to go in this direction. We don't want to hear from you anymore. We don't want to hear your sound advice as a media professional. So please go away. And again, that could totally be the case. But I think the more likely possibility is Dayani, I feel like everybody who comes to the realization around Harry and Meghan at some point realize that the reality TV show and the memoir are not going to do well. And not only are they not going to do well, it's going to be part of the implosion of brand Sussex, which I feel like is already starting to happen. People are getting sick of Harry and Meghan. They're getting sick of hearing about them complain. And Meghan herself has said the reality show wasn't quite the story she wanted to tell. And so I'm sure Dayani and so many of the other people around Harry and Meghan were trying to guide them in a direction that would be perhaps better. And Harry and Meghan, they know better than everyone, guys. So they didn't listen. So what do we have now? We have this Dayani going, okay, I know this is happening and I know this is going to be bad. So you know what? I see one of the last remaining lifeboats over here. I'm going to get in it as soon as humanly possible to get as far away from you guys as I can. Because I don't think Harry and Meghan are a productive place to work for. Not only are they, I don't feel like uplifting. I feel like it's restricting, it's demanding. I don't think a healthy place to work for, even just mentally. I'm not super one for, harping on about mental health, but I don't think your mental health will be served well by working for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So I think Dayani was like, well, I have the skills. I have my own organization she's done, which is connected to voting. She's like, thank you so much, but I'm out. And I think this goes along with other things that we've seen very recently. So another point to consider in terms of the failure of Brand Sussex is that their documentary, the reality TV show on Netflix, the trailer has gotten ratioed really, really badly. Nobody seems to be interested or like it. There will be a decent amount of hate watches, I think, but in terms of if I was Netflix, I'd be freaking out a bit because these numbers are not good. So the latest that we see right now, and again, I explained this in a previous video, you actually have to add a Chrome extension to your Chrome browser to be able to see how many downvotes a video gets on YouTube. So everybody can see the upvotes, and those creators, for example, me, I can see my downvotes for a particular video, but the public can only see the downvotes if they download a specific extension. So here's currently what we have right now. So guys, it currently has 20,000 thumbs ups and 228,000 thumbs down. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's really, really, really bad. And the comments are brutal underneath there. So I will say that, companies, they like controversy when they're releasing something because they're hoping that controversy increases engagement, increases views, and those sorts of things. But it's a bit of a risk because it could go either way. You could get a ton of views, a ton of interest in it, or it can completely crash and burn. And all you do is have people online complaining about how terrible it is. And the thing is, for me right now, because I feel like Hollywood has gone so far woke and I don't really watch anything, there's a couple of people I watch to say about particular movies, whether or not they think they're good or they are bad or not, because there's a lot of rumors and thoughts that, maybe the next Indiana Jones movie will be quite woke and indie Like the whole thing will be Indy will be killed off and a woman will replace him. That is supposedly the rumor. So I guess I should say spoiler alert. But that's a rumor for that movie. So I won't see that movie until I have somebody else watch it for me and tell me what's in that movie, who is, I believe, can give me an accurate representation, because I don't trust the critics. All that to say is that I feel like people will do the same thing with Harry and Meghan. There'll be some curiosity people, but there'll be a lot of people going, I don't like them. I don't like their messaging. I don't like their branding. I don't like anything about them. I don't like how they're complaining about living in a castle, living in a palace, and I live in a 1-bedroom flat with, 2 other roommates and a dog. Like, people just don't want to hear about an incredibly rich couple harping on how hard their life is as an incredibly rich couple who pretty much got everything they ever wanted, except, of course, they couldn't be king and queen. That is the biggest gripe that Meghan Markle has, is that she couldn't be queen. But, she can never be queen, guys. It's, again, not how any of this works. It's just not how it works. And so, again, we have all this coming together. So I feel like this lack of interest, I mean, obviously a downvote is not a... And you see this as well as something like the Rings of Power, which got 69,000 upvotes and 600 some odd thousand down votes. And basically right now, most people are saying that the Rings of Power, which was a Lord of the Rings adaptation from Amazon, is probably going to be the most expensive flop in terms of a television show of all times, because they spent $1 billion on it and it's not doing well. So if I was Netflix, I'd be panicking right now. Because again, it's one thing for people not to like it, but it's another reason for people to just hate it and then wait for other people to analyze it. Like, I will watch it for you guys so you don't have to, and then diss it, and then it doesn't even get picked up. Nobody goes back to it. They watch it once, they never ever watch it again. They never touch it again, or they only get 10 minutes into the episode and decide they don't like it anymore. So again, this is not good for Harry and Meghan, and this is not good for their team. And I mean, it could even be that Harry and Meghan saw this reaction and was like, Miss Dayani, you need to go, because you should have, they would probably be mad at her because they're like, you should have prevented this. But again, it's Harry and Meghan who are the issue here. Not any other team members, not any other staff members. It's Harry and Meghan. They're the problem. And the rest of the world is figuring this out as well. And so the third point I want to make is that when it comes to this imploding brand, I feel like Harry and Meghan's decision to combat and try to compete with Catherine and William was a gigantic miscalculation, because I'm sorry, Kate can wear a tiara and Meghan can't. Now, Meghan can buy a tiara and wear one, but Meghan, I don't think, will ever wear one ever again from the British collection. Whereas Catherine has, perhaps at some point, we know she'll have full control over the collection. And right now she maybe has a couple of tiaras that she didn't before that she has in the wings for future state occasions, like the diplomatic reception they'll probably do later this year. Meghan just doesn't have that. And Harry does not have the gravitas of being the future heir to the throne. So what does all this mean? Well, they're trying to compete with Catherine and William, and it just seems to make them look petty, vindictive, spiteful. It's not a good look. So I feel like when I was talking to people here in Boston, one of the things when we talked about Harry and Meghan is that even people who were still a bit soft on Harry and Meghan were offended and angry that they decided to drop this while Catherine and William were on tour. It was a huge miscalculation from a PR perspective. Now, I understand that from Netflix as a business perspective, yes, there's interest because there was a lot of royal fervor over their visit, but I think it would have been smarter in a business sense to release it afterwards, because then it doesn't look like you're directly competing. At least you gave them the tour without releasing it right in the middle of it. And again, I feel like Netflix wanted to jump on this bandwagon, and it does make sense. But I feel like the rest of the public is like, hey, that's just rude. Nobody likes it when a woman shows up at a wedding and announces to everyone that she's pregnant, or a woman gets proposed to at a wedding and the bride is not the focal point of attention. Now, Meghan did do that at Eugenie's wedding. She announced she was pregnant apparently at Eugenie's wedding. So Meghan has this habit of doing it. However, it just doesn't play well to anyone. And I feel like this is what they're discovering, is that people were really turned off by it. And if Harry and Meghan really want the public to go, hey, yay, we want to go see Harry and Meghan. Again, I feel like this was a really bad move on their part, and the PR team at Netflix, they should have waited at least until the tour was done, because then at least it looked like they were trying to give Catherine and William their time rather than trying to disrupt it, interrupt it. Again, it was an unbelievably dumb thing to do. Let's just put it that way. And so the next sign I think that we saw a couple months ago that Harry and Meghan were definitely heading down the road to oblivion is that Sunshine Sachs was no longer going to be permanently representing them. That they were going to be there on an advisory basis, but not there day after day. And again, I feel like this is perhaps maybe very much concerning because Harry and Meghan, they need good PR. Unfortunately, they're really terrible at it because they constantly want their names to be in the press. Constantly, or I feel like Meghan does, and she does this by competing with other members of the royal family, which doesn't make Harry or Meghan look good. And I feel like Sunshine Sachs, although they were a detriment to Harry and Meghan, they did somewhat temper things probably. I could be totally wrong in that, but I feel like they did work to somewhat temper things. But now everything has changed. The whole atmosphere has changed. And so I feel like Harry and Meghan, their PR, it just gets worse and worse. Like Harry's recent Spider-Man appearance for, I can't remember what the charity is called. Now, I appreciate that Harry is representing a charity of children whose fathers or parents have died in combat. Very much appreciate that. But I was looking at going, why is he dressed up like Spider-Man? Is that necessary? Because he's not Tom Holland. If Tom Holland was dressing up as Spider-Man to talk to these kids, that would be awesome. But I feel like Harry and Meghan always put the least effort into things. Even their Elton John video thing, it was done clearly on an iPhone. The quality was bad. The quality on this for Harry's was bad. A lot of people said that was most likely Meghan holding the camera, which is just not professional. I mean, even me, I have a mic attached here underneath my shirt. I have a nice camera, and on a tripod I have lights, and I'm not perfect in this setup at all. There's a lot I can learn, but I try to put my best foot forward. I even put my little mini lights in the lampshade behind me so it gives some light to the room. So I mean, I try to do what I can to make it look as professional as possible, and my videos I'm sure look better than Harry and Meghan's that they do at their multi-million-dollar mansion. And so I just feel like Harry and Meghan, when it comes to PR, they're just so incredibly bad at it. Because if I was their PR person, I would say, okay, you need to disappear for about 6 months. You need to let the world reset for about 6 months, and then you come back and try to reestablish yourselves. Because at this point, I feel like everything they say gets twisted, and whether or not it deserves to be twisted, everybody's looking for the controversy, everybody's looking for the conspiracy, because that's what Harry and Meghan have trained the world to do, and so that's what they continue to do. So Harry and Meghan are their own worst enemies when it comes to PR, and I feel like since Sunshine Sachs has left, things have gotten worse for them, and I think they'll continue to go downhill. And finally, guys, the biggest reason that Archewell, Harry and Meghan, the brand Sussex, everything is much like the Titanic, just a little bit of the stern sticking out at the end, is because now Harry and Meghan are running the operations. Two people who have no experience in business, no experience in production, no experience in really being creatives at all, are now going to be running their own company. So yeah, it's going to crash and burn. How can it not? I mean, again, I'm not a marketing professional. I've worked a bit in that, but I'm not a professional and those sorts of things. But Meghan, she could do the influencer thing, but she couldn't really run a business. Like, the business they envision is a huge operation. You need a business person to run it. Like, I'm more on the creative side. It would be great to have somebody who runs the business side, so I don't have to think about that quite as much. Because to me, I think of different ideas and videos and, you know, merchandise and those sorts of things. And I'm really good at getting those creative things done, but I'm not as disciplined as I should be. I can't manage things as well. And so there are people who are much better at that. And I don't feel like those people are Harry and Meghan. And I know they have their little throne room in their office where they dictate things from on high. But I don't feel like it's a very good look for them to be running their own corporation, because they have no experience doing it. And they really haven't done anything all that impressive so far. Because I sacrifice a lot of time, energy, and effort to do all of this. You know, I have nights where I sleep a couple hours trying to get everything together. And Harry and Meghan, they establish this business and then they go on a break for 6 months maybe. Oh, heck to the no. You can't do that. If you want to run a business, it has to be a live or die thing. To get it off the ground and really functioning, you have to do it day after day. It has the first thing you think about when you wake up and the last thing you think about when you go to sleep. That's what it takes to really truly get a business off the ground. I learned a little bit of that from Shark Tank, and I felt like when I was watching that, it was really good for me starting this, because it told me that, hey, you can't just sit on your rump and hope everything comes together. No. It's cause you have to be laser focused on achieving your goals. Laser focus. That's how you're going to get things done, is focusing on getting ahead, getting all those results that you need. If you're not doing that, then you know what's going to happen is that at some point things are just going to hit the skids and things aren't going to go the way you want. And I feel like, again, that's what Harry and Meghan will experience, is that I don't feel like they're 100% dedicated to this. I don't feel like they're 100% behind actually creating a business. They talk all these lofty goals, but they never seem to get into the nitty gritty. And if you're going to run a business, especially one that's technically as small as Archewell is, you need to get in the nitty gritty. Now, I will say another point to consider, and this is, I know I said 5, but this is something else I think kind of beyond what I'm talking about. Just generally, let's just say Harry and Meghan still have all the money in the world and they could still run the things that they can still hire all the people, do all the things that they want to do with the money they have. Then all those points apply, and they still apply in this next point. But another issue that could be coming up is that they're running out of money. And if they're running out of money, they need to cut the most expensive people on their staff. They need to trim things like Sunshine Sacks. And so what if it's coming to the point where their money is running out? And so they have to make cuts, and they go for the most expensive things first, because at this point, Meghan thinks she can run the planet. And so she's going to attempt to do that. I've always been of the opinion, I thought Harry and Meghan were burning through their money. Yes, they get money from Netflix and Spotify, but that's only if those things perform well. After a while, because they'll get money for production costs and things on top of that. But if their stuff is not performing to the epitome, the peak of its ability, then they may not get the money that they think they were going to, or that they was initially part of their deal, because it's all about sales. It's all about people investing in their brand. If that's not happening, you need to start cutting people. And that maybe is what Harry and Meghan are doing. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of the latest revelation that somebody from Harry and Meghan's team has gotten the axe. And perhaps more will be on the way. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon. Bye.